It always comes to this. More nice shit. Hello there guys, here to do another tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I either had just showed off the lines on my chest here, which are still pretty faint, but they're there more than the other ones were. Or I just showed off the dotting in my palm. Again, this whole chest is kind of lined out for the most part now. There's still some things to do line-wise, but we're going to be getting into more with the chest piece here next week. I don't want to take too much time talking about that. I had 3 sessions last week, and I've had 1 since. So I've been busy. The chest piece, though it is my main priority, it's got my utmost attention currently. Obviously, I want to see it develop. Got a lot of that stuff going on the side. I've got a lot going on with Terry, obviously, with dots and stuff that I'm working on my face, and I've got an appointment with him coming up this week. But I also had a little one-off appointment with a friend of the shop, Alex Rose. He did the podcast with us. That will have went up first. I don't know if this will go up before the reacts we did with him, but we had a good time with Alex. Alex did a lot of he did a lot of tattoos while he was here. He did quite a few tattoos on staff while he was here. He did some big pieces. I'll put in this video to show off some of his work. And Lee was on me. Lee being my first Blackout artist. He did the original Blackout. He's been wanting to black out my back now for a couple of years, but he moved to Kelowna, and so I've been working with Rick. Now Alex works at a rate similar to Lee. Lee's a very proficient, very quick artist, where Rick is obviously one to kind of take his time. He does good work, but it takes a minute. Alex is more proficient like Lee is, and so Lee thought that it would be a good idea to get Alex to black out my back while he was here. Now, I had that in the back of my mind the whole time he was here. He was here for about a week and a half working. I thought, I'll watch him work, I'll see how it goes, and then I'll make my mind up about that. Now, it's not because I don't want to do that one day, but it seems to me that he slowed down a bit in his approach to tattooing, which isn't a bad thing, in my opinion. I think it's a little better to go a little slower anyway. I think it's good to take your time, and I think it's good to do a little more detail and really, laser focus into your work. And if it takes a few extra sessions, then it takes a few extra sessions, you get a better product. That's my preferred method. That's how I can be comfortable working with a guy like Rick. But anyway, I watched Alex. I'm a student of the game. I before I work with anyone, I take a look at what they're doing for quite a while. Like before I started working with Terry at all, I observed Terry. I seen that he was efficient and professional enough and gifted enough at tattooing as a technique, not necessarily as an art form, that he could get the ink in an efficient way, and he doesn't do much damage to the skin, all that. Ramble. By the time Alex's last couple days rolled around here, well, they were the only ones that didn't have him booked. I had him booked pretty solid while he was here. So it was always kind of like, well, we knew he was going to end up doing something on me, but I decided that I didn't want to have him start my back blackout and then get halfway through it, and then I have to get the rest of it done by another artist. Obviously, I've spoken a lot about Blackout over the years. 2 different artists will have 2 different blackouts. It's a weird thing. It's hard for people to understand this, to wrap their mind around it, but not just anyone can do it. And not just that, but each artist has a different depth to their black, or a different smoothness to their black, or even just a different color sometimes. It depends on the layer of skin you're in. So, for example, when I got my legs blacked out by Rick, they weren't as smooth as my blackouts that were done by Lee. They weren't even close to as smooth, actually. We had to do some skimming, obviously, but they're smooth now. Sometimes the passage of time can smooth work out a little bit too, but there's certain bits of roughness that just don't go away that need to be ironed out. Now, anyway, Lee's work was incredibly smooth, but it wasn't as dark as Rick's. So by the time we did my leg blackouts, I had to go back and re-hit my arm blackouts with Rick. Because they just weren't the same look. Like, it didn't match up. And when you're going to have like a mostly full body blackout, you want it to be pretty smooth and connected. Even what's funny to me is like this chest, even though there's lines in there, you can see that because it was all done with the same ink and by the same artist, it's going to be, that background in there is going to be the same color. Now, obviously, it won't be, because the next session we're going to be working on building the chest piece in there out of the stencil that I'm wearing now. But the point is, Blackout looks different depending on who does it. So I didn't want to get to a point halfway through or midway through or whatever with Alex and then have to pick that up with Terry or Rick. And quite frankly, I've got a lot on the go anyway, so I really, if I was going to do it at all, I needed it to be one shot. And I could have sat for it, but yeah, there's also some things on my back that are a little bit hard to work with. Like, there's parts of the back piece that meet the front piece, and those have to be handled delicately. That's all around, so I don't think that it's a good thing to rush that, and so I think not doing that was for the best. However, what we did get up to is more interesting. I had a backup plan all along, and it had nothing to do with anything Rick was doing. It's not in the way of anything that we're doing, and it does fit thematically too, so I'll just go ahead and show it off finally. I'm midway through the video here. I don't know if this is showing it off properly. It's hard to see your own neck tattoo, your back of your neck. He built it off of the back piece so that it ties in for now. We used white, red, and black for this. Obviously, we used Panthera black. He just used all the inks that I told him, except Alex puts a lot of red into his tattoo work on his own time. He uses a lot of red, so he used the reds that he wanted. But he used we used Silverback white for it and Panthera gloom for the most part. Kevin asked him how he liked that black, and he said, "It's very black." Those were his only thoughts, which I found very amusing because it is very black. Again, I wish Rick had used gloom to line all of this, but whatever. Here we are. You can't go back in time. I'm just glad that liner black is out of the building now, and we'll never have it again. Anyway, yeah, it's a little hard to talk with my back turned, so I'm just going to leave the picture up while I'm talking about it. But Alex was a very, very heavy-handed tattooer. I don't talk really much about Rick's style of tattooing. He's a little heavy, but his mannerisms, his way about tattooing is heavy. He's a very rough individual, but his actual tattooing, his actual application is quite light. You don't really feel him there much. There's not much pain. But with Alex, he took me for a proper session. That piece took about 3 hours and 15 minutes or something. But it was a very concentrated tattoo. So it's all done in the same area. And I definitely had some bruising. I left the shop with a bit of a hunchback because, you know, your neck's all swollen. But what was hilarious and definitely interesting is he did pieces on 3 other artists at the shop here. And I was healed before any of them. And I got mine done after all of them. So we got a girl get a big calf piece by him. We had a girl do her outer sleeve with him. And we had Kevin got his back outlined by Alex. And I got mine, I think, a day after Kevin got his outlines, and 2 days after the other girls got their work done, and they're not healed yet, and mine's fully peeled. So like when I showed this off, there's just one little bit of flake that has to come off. I wanted to wait. I had a chance to make this video earlier this week, but I wanted to wait and make it today because I wanted this to be mostly peeled when I showed it off to further embolden my point that I was rambling about in the last video that went up most likely, that it doesn't matter what kind of expert you are. Here we have Rick being a color realism artist. And then we have a traditional tattooer in Alex Rose, who does mostly traditional tattoos, like neo-trad and classic trad tattoos. Neither one of them had done any color on black before me, and both of them executed it. I liked Alex's approach. It was, like I said, it was a more intense session. I enjoyed it. Didn't get a peep out of me anyway, but we accomplished the whole piece in one day. And it healed the way I expected it to. There's a reason I didn't show it off when it was fresh. It's because I didn't want anyone to be able to say that's not going to be there when it heals. I wanted to show it off once it was healed so that there was nothing like that to be said. This will heal and it will age well. It will look like this forever because it was all done at once. These things aren't changing. Once you do the black and the white together, they don't change. So the red is all healing really well and aging really well too. That red hasn't been touched in a year. So it's in there. So that's going to be what this is too. And I'll show it off there again. Yeah, I wanted to wait. We had a great time with Alex, and I wanted a little token of my time here with him. And I think it's a really novel idea that I can still be a bit of a collector, and I can get tattoos from guest artists that come to the shop. Even this far into my tattoo journey, I can get elaborate work, and I can get really whatever the hell I want too. There is no limitation on it. And yeah, I'm going to brag about that. There's nothing that we can't tattoo on me. I had someone said, try and do realism. I was like, I could do realism. If I want to do a realistic portrait on my arm, that's on the table for me. Anything that you want to do, you can do over Blackout. Or any color, I'm assuming. But I'll get into that more in the next video because I had another wild color on black session here just yesterday, and I'll be showing that off here in a bit. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.